I don't need to go on a 5-minute rant to explain why heavy's melees are not good. You have a minigun. It deals damage. A lot of damage in fact, especially when people are close to you. So why on earth would you ever want to use your melee as a heavy? Especially when you are the slowest class in the game, with no way to actually hit people with them. The answer is you don't, or at least you really shouldn't. Most of the time, the only way you'll ever see a heavy with their melee out is if you encounter a hoovy, where they're not trying to hit you, and they're just holding them because it makes them look friendly. In an actual fight with a heavy, the only thing you'll see them doing is shooting you with their minigun, because it's the only thing that matters. Which is why the two best melees for heavy are the ones that give you utility. The Gru gives you speed, which you desperately need, and the Fists of Steel give you damage resistances, which can save your life while escaping or crossing an open space. Heavy has two major weaknesses, his speed and his survivability. Not his base HP, because he has a lot of that, but being able to retain this HP is a struggle, because each fight he will take lots and lots of damage. And this is exactly why the Fists of Steel and the Gru have dominated the heavy melee meta, because if you are ever taking lots of damage and need to run away across an open plane, you hit free on your keyboard, and then you run away with your Fists of Steel. These two melees have completely overshadowed every other option for the heavy. Why would you ever want to use your fists if they give you no actual benefit? They're a weapon which you pull out when everything else has run out of ammo, which if you somehow reach that position as a heavy, you don't really deserve to live. And the same thing goes with his other melee weapons. They don't actually help you in any way. They're either a weaker version of something that already exists, or they don't cover any of your downsides, leaving you defenseless either way. But that's not entirely true. I mentioned that Heavy's HP is his most important resource, and the Fist of Steel only slowed down his HP loss. And while you shouldn't try and be getting any melee kills, what if there was a melee which tempted you to do so anyway? What if there was something that dared you to try it, knowing it's a bad idea, but promising something very, very valuable in return? The Warrior Spirit, a melee weapon which gives Heavy some very adorable bear claws. Look at him. But beyond aesthetics, this thing offers something the rest of Heavy's melee options do not. Self-sustain. Plus 50 HP granted on kill. And that's it. Simple, but it is a very, very huge edge. Heavy takes a lot of damage. He's always in the front lines and always soaking up spam. Always being chipped down by someone, and unless you have your own personal medic stapled to your backside, you're probably not lasting long in a drawn out fight. And this is where the Warrior Spirit can step in. That 50 HP on a melee kill gives you a reason to use your melee. Because now, getting a kill means you get to stay in a fight for a little bit longer. The thing is, melee on Heavy isn't actually that bad. It seems like a bad idea at first. After all, you're slow, right? Why would you want to try and chase someone down with your fists when you could just as easily shoot them with your minigun? But here's the thing, Heavy speed is not the problem people think it is. If you start chasing someone, they'll usually backpedal and try and shoot you. And you know what? You can outrun people who are walking backwards. You will close that gap, especially if they back into a corner or into a wall. Your best bet is to catch somebody off guard. Take a flank route, come in from the side, below them, above them, from behind, any way that they are not expecting. Instead of playing the typical team anchor on the front lines, try going solo. It is weird for a Heavy, yeah, but it does work. If you can sneak up on someone, you can most likely kill them even with your melee weapon. And since you will be flanking, you're probably not going to have a medic with you. You're not going to be being healed, you're not being babysat, which means that 50 HP on kill, it isn't just some nice little bonus, it is essential for your survival. And every kill that you get is even more staying power in a place you really shouldn't have any. Now, I'm not telling you to just run at people with your melee out, because that is a quick way to die, especially when you factor in the only downside of the Warrior Spirit, a 30% damage vulnerability. I haven't talked about this yet, but it effectively drops your 300 HP down to about 210, which isn't exactly comforting when you're already a big, slow-moving target. And so the way that I use the warrior spirit to make this work is I treat the melee as a finishing tool for your minigun kills. Don't start fights with it out, use it after you've softened someone up with your minigun. Since I've mentioned using it on flanks, you'd want to adjust your entire loadout to fit that, and becoming a flank heavy playstyle. As a heavy, you would usually stick with your team, which is fine, but honestly that can be boring needing to rely on a medic or a dispenser to keep you alive. Personally, I love to be on my own. There is no team in my fortress. 2. And the best minigun for flanking, and honestly in my opinion just in general, is the Tomislav. Faster spin up time means you can stay unrevved while moving around, and then quickly rev up again and lay down some damage. That speed advantage is huge, especially for a flanking heavy. What's great about this is that you can shoot an enemy, then quickly switch to your melee to finish them off, grab a free 50 HP, and then switch right back and rev up again to deal damage to other enemies, and finish those people off with your claws as well, stacking up your health each time. And here's the kicker, because the damage vulnerability is only active while your melee is out, if you pull it out to finish up on a kill, then switch back to your Tomislav, you basically negate the downside, as it becomes a risk-free bonus HP on every kill you get, since you'll only be having it equipped for a short amount of time. So you've got a flanking roamer primary and a flanking roamer melee, and what's next to include a secondary onto that loadout. So first off, don't use the stake. Seriously, you do not want to double down on damage vulnerabilities. Sure, it's part of the same set, and sure, the 100 damage plus mini crit sounds hilarious on paper, but in practice, it's simply not worth it. You'll become even more fragile and be locked to your melee, which is something you really do not need. As a solo heavy, you have 2 major weaknesses: a lack of healing, and the risk of being caught out while not being revved up. You need a way to stay mobile, and being able to kill enemies without sacrificing your survivability. And that's where a shotgun can come in. Using a shotgun, preferably the family business, will let you move at your full speed so that you can close the distance quickly while still dealing damage with enemies. Plus, since there won't be any change of speed and you'll be able to catch people up, it could be easier to finish people off with the warrior spirit, which means you're not stuck limping around, revving and unrevving, and overall just makes you more mobile. But in my opinion, the shotgun isn't really necessary. The Tomislav was already a huge upgrade in the primary slot with its quick rev time. You can pretty much run around at full speed whenever you want, which kind of makes the shotguns redundant. The other issue for a solo heavy is the lack of healing, and while the warrior spirit can be nice with the 50 HP, it's not going to bring you up to full. So if you do want something like that, I'd recommend using a lunchbox item. And the one that I would recommend for this is the Lucas bar. The chocolate bar is not something that most people think of when choosing a secondary for heavy. Most people will just stick to the sandwich or to the banana. But honestly, the chocolate bar is really good, especially for being a solo heavy. First of all, it recharges at the same speed as the banana, so you can almost always have it ready for some quick healing if you need it. The catch is that it only heals 100 compared to the 200 of the banana, which doesn't sound like much. And yeah, it isn't much on its own, but that's not really why you use it. The real strength of the chocolate bar is the 50 bonus max HP it gives you for 30 seconds after eating it. And that buff is huge, especially when you're playing without a medic, as it basically gives you 50 overheal whenever you need it. It lets you survive chip damage better, makes health pack a little bit more effective. Its main use, to me at least, is that it lets you live 2 sniper headshots, 3 demo man pills, and an extra rocket or a meat shot, and of course just some chip damage. And paired with the warrior spirit, the synergy starts to click. The melee self-heal on kill helps patch up the chocolate bar's low healing output, and the bar's bonus HP makes the spirit's main weakness of its 30% damage vulnerability less of a liability. With 350 HP after eating the bar, your effective health while holding the spirit jumps to about 245, which is still less than your base 300, sure, but it is way better than the 210 you'd normally have. So with this loadout, everything can support everything else. The Tomislav gives you a faster rev up time and more mobility, the Warrior Spirit rewards you for your aggression with healing, and the Chocolate Bar rounds it out by giving you a little bit more sustain and survivability, as well as making it just slightly less risky for you. With the Warrior Spirit again being able to cover up for the lower amount of healing which the Chocolate Bar grants you. And I haven't even touched on the final upside of the Warrior Spirit yet. It has a 30% damage buff. It boosts your melee damage from 65 to 85 per hit. And honestly, it's not game changing at all, but it is definitely noticeable. You can 2-hit a medic now, which is pretty solid, and Demo Knights take 3 hits, which is extremely helpful since they're usually right in your face anyway. Plus, the Warrior Spirit deals random crits for 254 damage. And since you're a heavy, pumping out tons of damage with your minigun, those crits are not quite as rare as you'd think they are. Having an extra 30 damage per swing makes finishing off enemies right after your minigun more reliable. All you need is a couple of minigun shots and then you can quickly switch to your melee and finish them off. And those random crits, they can kill almost anyone in a single hit, except for another heavy, who will take 2 swings. But hey, that is totally possible, and honestly, it is very hilarious. So a damage boost combined with the healing on kill really rounds out the weapon's role as a finisher. It's not just some cute bear claws that make you die as soon as you hold them. They are a serious threat in close quarters and allows you to sustain yourself while being a solo heavy. But if you want to abandon your team and go play it by yourself, how about you give the Warrior Spirit a try? Did I get anything wrong? Disagree with my opinions? Think I missed something? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video or found it interesting, consider giving it a like, sharing it, and possibly even subscribing. And thank you for getting to the end.